Well, guys, this is it. After 6 or 7 years of basically ending out on a cliffhanger and it being announced in 2021 that the show was being brought back, The Amazing World of Gumball is back. Or The Wonderfully Weird World of Gumball, as it's now called. But to be completely honest, there are signs that Gumball was not gonna stay ended forever, given that the original show, even after it ended, was still given reruns on Cartoon Network. When Cartoon Network shows are often booted from the network after they ended, such is the case with Regular Show or OKKO, but also, outside of Teen Titans Go, Gumball is the show that gives Cartoon Network their highest ratings, so of course, this meant that the show was gonna be brought back for a revival series. Although, considering the fact that in recent years, Warner Brothers have gone through its darkest stage that's ever been in since 2022, the whereabouts of this particular series was up in the air, and because David Zaslav wanted to save up as much money so that the company can be able to pay off their debt that they've been in for years now, The Wonderfully Weird World of Gumball made its debut on Hulu on July 28th, 2025. I know that I said this before when I did my review on The Bros back in 2021, but I'll say it again, I like The Amazing World of Gumball. It may not be my favorite of the Cartoon Network shows, especially considering the fact that the show didn't start to peak until season 3, and that streak continued as it and seasons 4 and 5 were what I could throw into the show's golden age, and season 6 was one of the show's weakest seasons. And the show, especially early on, had a lot of bad episodes, but the show was very funny and imaginative. But like any show, the series does have its share of stinkers, and the seasons outside of seasons 3 to 5 vary in quality. Season 1 is one of those rough first seasons, where as soon as you're far enough into the show, then go back to its early episodes, you notice how less refined it is in comparison to the others. Season 2 generally had more frustrating episodes, some of which being some of my least favorite episodes of the entire series, the most infamous one being The Hero, where Nicole and Anais essentially disowned Gumball and Darwin because they made fun of Richard, despite the fact that Nicole herself is far more verbally harsh on Richard than Gumball and Darwin are, and season 6 feels the most exhausted of the 6 seasons. The final stretch of episodes were not too good in particular, even when taking the Inquisition out of the equation. But with all of the talking points about what I think of Gumball out of the way, let's move the discussion over to The Wonderfully Weird World of Gumball, and what I think of its first season. Though, I'd personally still nickname it as Season 7, given that the show feels no different than the first 6 seasons of the original, to the point where the characters are still the same age in this show, and I think that this show is good. Though, in regards to how I'd rank the season in comparison to the others, it's smack dab in the middle of all of them. Nothing else in Gumball comes close to seasons 3 to 5, but it's better than seasons 1, 2, and 6. And to describe exactly why I think that this is the case, as I stated just a second ago, the other seasons outside of 3 to 5 have a specific flavor to them, that depending on who you are, you'd either like or dislike them. And season 7's flavor is that the show is very much trying to get used to things all over again. The gap between the original series being over and this new show being released had a gap of 6 years after all, so in regards to what this show is trying to do, is give the audience a new fresh start, being more like season 1 than the later seasons, only this new series has the benefit of retaining the animation quality of the later ones. Although this does come with some consequences unfortunately, as so far, one of this season's biggest problems is that they do dive into way too familiar territories all too often. The very first episode of this new season, The Burger, basically does the exact same plot as the season 3 episode, The Safety, where Darwin is so paranoid about something that he hears about in class that he goes into full-blown soccer mom territories on Gumball, trying his best to make sure that Gumball can't eat anything that they usually eat, to the point where they literally starve themselves to death while trying to grow a vegetable garden. And The Safety is already an episode that I really didn't like. The pool is basically the car, but without Gumball and Darwin being altruists for Mr. and Mrs. Robinson. And the episode The Boring basically hammers something in that we already know about at this point. We know that Gumball and Darwin find Molly boring. The stories had already made that clear. Now, this season does still have what made the original series so good, that being the humor. Although, I'm not going to delve too much into it, because I'd basically repeat what I did back during my Drake and Josh season 1 review if I did so, but what I'll say about the humor is that given the fact that Gumball had been on hiatus for 6 years. There were things that the show has not been able to do since it ended, like poking jabs at what's been happening since the 2020s have started, and this show has proven itself that it's back. The most notable things that they referenced were the pandemic, where people were supposed to wear masks outside of their home, and YouTube brain rot. And the show also references streaming services, and how greedy corporations could take the show off of the service at any time, one of the main reasons I prefer physical media over streaming, and that's not the only thing that the series retains. One of the original series' best aspects was the character dynamics, and the comedy that they got out of it. Whether if it's through Richard being a funny kind of stupid, Nicole's angry outbursts, or the show generally being unhinged. That one scene in the distance, where Nicole says that Richard used up all of their minutes on the phone because Richard just wanted to dance to the music while he was on hold, is just gold. Although, with the new season, and generally having a new fresh start, comes new writing decisions that are written for characters, which I honestly have a few issues with. For instance, in the aforementioned The Distance, Gumball and Darwin become so clingy to each other that they can't go one single night without Gumball losing his sanity, despite the fact that the episode that I reviewed, The Bros, showed that Gumball was as interested in talking to Penny as much as he is spending time with his brother, and Gumball was able to go multiple scenes without being with Darwin in the original show. Heck, in this show, Gumball and Penny are the most romantically interested in each other that they've ever been throughout the franchise. And this season also has the weakest Darwin x Carrie episode, The Letter, where there's this new character trait given to Carrie, where she implies that she hates it when someone tells her that they love her, despite also showing that she loves him, even in this particular episode. Also, why is Darwin suddenly afraid of a baby mascot in the traffic, to the point where he uncharacteristically kicks the back of Richard's seat, and then directly act out by getting out of the car and try to run away? I mean, Darwin has dealt with things and even animals who are much more scary than an amusement park mascot. I mean, he was literally about ready to beat up a turtle because she tried to drown him in an ocean. I get that Darwin is paranoid a lot of the time, but not to this much of an extent. And while Gumball Season 7 so far had been pretty light on its bad episodes, I mean, the episodes that I discussed about in this video aren't bad by all means necessary, they just have flaws about them, but aren't bad. The show did sneak a few of them in though, with presumably more to come in the future, given that this new series only has 20 episode segments so far. And while they're not as bad as some of the worst episodes of the original show, like The Dream or The Girlfriend, they do need to be highlighted in specific. My least favorite episode so far is The Portrait, where the episode basically takes all chances for the Wattersons to get their picture taken away from them numerous times, on top of being super predictable. Like, you can see that the Wattersons were going to get interrupted again and again, and that Frankie Watterson was going to ditch them from a mile away, and the parole officer gets away with just letting Frankie get away, whilst being completely okay with getting the Watterson family into trouble for what was out of their control, and the episode The Amadane is not too far behind. Not only does Penny selfishly drag Gumball to her house to help her with the Fitzgerald tradition, while leaving him in the dark about what she brought him there for, but it's yet another example of this new season retreading old ground. The transformation also had Gumball being asked to come over to the Fitzgerald's house to basically help Penny with her issues, but also, there's no reason to have Gumball in this episode if they were not gonna have him do anything. Yes, I know that this is supposed to be Gumball's series, but there have been plenty of episodes of the original series where Gumball is not present at all, and for very good reason. Because if the story does not need him, then the episode doesn't have to include him. When you try to include Gumball and Darwin in a forced way, you get both episodes like this one right here, as well as the others from the original series, which forcefully includes Gumball and Darwin, while also being self-aware in an insulting way that they're not supposed to be there. And that was one of the weakest episodes of the original series. But, like I said, these are my thoughts on the series as of the time that it's still ongoing. The series is still new, and Season 7 has the possibility of either turning out better or worse. But we'll have to wait a while, because something that Hulu is very well known to do is drop multiple episodes all at once.
Everything